Welcome back. This time we're talking about Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, the latest film from director Luc Besson. While I wasn't a huge fan of his most recent directorial effort, Lucy, two of his films, Leon the Professional and The Fifth Element, are among two of my favorite films of all time. So I always get excited when I hear he has a new movie coming out, since he spends most of his time producing and writing these days. In the case of Valerian, I was doubly excited because it was once again a return to science fiction and a film that looked much more in line with The Fifth Element than Lucy ever did. And because this seemed to be a passion project of his, adapting this French comic series that I honestly had never heard of before, Valerian and Laureline, two agents who go on intrepid adventures through space and time. Unfortunately, Valerian the movie, while I did find a decent bit of entertainment out of it, is an example of what can happen in a passion project like this when the director allows his passion to sort of overwhelm everything else. Specifically, it really felt like Besson was trying to cram in looks at every nook and cranny of this alpha station upon which most of our story is set, as well as, I would presume, some of his favorite moments from the comics. And this results in a very, very unfocused story. There is a main story that kind of ties things together, but there are long stretches of this movie that just go off in completely different directions. The best way I could probably describe it is if you were playing an open world video game. There is a main objective that you're trying to reach, but there are all of these side quests, and a lot of these side quests lead to other side quests. And after a few hours of playing these side quests, you remember, oh yeah, that's right, I was supposed to actually be going this direction. Let me start heading there. And that's really how a lot of this film feels. While each individual moment has some inherent entertainment, and the entire film looks beautiful. The special effects are great, the set designs, they all have that kind of Luc Besson Fifth Element feel going for them, and I really, really liked it. There are just insane amounts of just fluff that really could have been cut or at least better integrated into the main story so we feel like we're actually watching a movie that has a central plot. So what is that central plot? It's kind of hard to explain. Essentially the movie opens with this prologue showing these somewhat primitive aliens on this beautiful beach. Some things happen, and then we get into our main characters, namely Valerian, played by Dane DeHaan, and Laureline, played by Cara, who, like I mentioned earlier, are these agents, and they go on a variety of missions. So we meet them as they're about to go on this latest mission, and a byproduct of that mission sort of connects, although we don't know it at first, to the main storyline. And that kind of sets some balls rolling, and there's some conspiracies, and they really don't know what's going on because a lot of it is being kept from them. I'm really having difficulty adequately describing the main plot, because that's essentially it. And if I say anything else, it will kind of spoil it. But just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about with this, how the story is so unfocused. You have this prologue, we have this opening mission that lasts a pretty long time. And then sort of the main, what appears to be the main storyline kind of kicks in. And one of our intrepid heroes gets into some trouble, so the other one has to find a way to help their partner, and they end up having to go on this side quest. And like I said, it's very imaginative, very well realized with the special effects. But this whole side quest has really nothing to do with the main plot, other than it will give this one person the ability to help find the other. And then that happens, and then somebody else gets into trouble, and so then this person's going to have to go on this side quest to get something that they're going to need to be able to find the other person, and then there's a whole side quest of rescuing that person, and things happen. And then after all of that, we're almost to the third act of the movie when we finally get back to what's actually the main plot. Really, this movie is like 2 hours 20 or so minutes. like I said, I enjoyed each individual moment, but you could pretty much cut out the entire second act of this movie, and with the exception of a little bit of character development for our two main characters, it wouldn't have affected the main plot at all. I mean, this could have been a lean hour and 50-minute movie, or it could have been a 2 hour, 20-minute epic that if they had been able to integrate these side quests so it felt like a more linear story. I mean, open world is great for video games. It allows the people to play out and really feel like they have more control over everything. It doesn't really work as well for a movie. So really, you can look at this movie in two different ways. You can look at it first from an entertainment value. Does it entertain? And despite all the problems I've talked about, I did find myself entertained with this movie. Visually, it's stunning. The special effects are great. The action is fun. It's a little long, but overall, I enjoyed the movie. Now, the second way you look at this movie, is it actually good? And from a traditional, is this a well-made, well-told story? I can't say it is. The pacing is all over the place. As I said, the story is incredibly unfocused. While I did enjoy the characters, they don't really get the true development that I feel they deserved. Valerian, we know he is in love with Laureline. As far as Laureline goes, we know she's not really sure if she is in love with him. She knows his past with other women and other things. And a lot of that is told. We don't really get to see a lot of it. And there is some character development through the story. But really, by the time we get to the end of the movie, we really don't know these two characters very well at all. And again, the same thing can be said for the main story. It's a very interesting concept. There's a lot that could have been there, but the story spends so much time on these side quests that it, like the characters, doesn't really get the development that it really needs to have that weight to it. It's rare to say that a 2 hour, 20-minute movie feels light, but it really does, because the characters aren't fully developed, and the story really, out of that 2 hours and 20 minutes, maybe an hour or so of it is actually devoted to the main story. So there isn't a whole lot of time to, just fully develop it and make it feel like this is a true epic space opera that I honestly could have been. There's so much interesting and cool ideas in this movie. And that's one of the reasons why I say I was still entertained by it, even though it doesn't quite work as a movie and as a story. During the initial mission, we get to see this shopping center that essentially exists in an alternate dimension. So people are just walking around this bare desert, but they actually are seeing and can somewhat actually interact with this other dimension and go shopping in thousands and thousands of stores. A lot of the things that we get to see in this space station are very cool, but we never really get enough to know how it all fits together and works. So, trying to wrap this up, Valerian is a movie that I did enjoy. I did find enough enjoyment out of it that it's an alright movie. But there are a lot of problems. And I've just enumerated all of them. I'm not going to go through it again. So, are you going to enjoy it? It basically comes down to, do you mind a lot of story problems and other things if things just look pretty and are pretty cool? It's still, many degrees better than, say, like Transformers, the latest Transformers movie. The story, as told, pretty much makes sense, and there's not huge plot holes to be found. It's just a very unfocused film. So it's definitely better than, say, Transformers, but it's not the fifth element that I was hoping for. So hopefully that gives you an idea of whether you want to go see this movie. Now, if you have seen it, what did you think about it? And do you think that the cool factor and the visual factor are enough to overcome the other flaws of this movie? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.